Welcome to Kaivala Yoga. My name is Stuart, and this is Nitsa. She's joined us today to talk about finding your passion and finding her passion, and I guess finding my passion as well. The first lesson that we had prior to this was observation without judgment. And in observation without judgment, what it does is it gives us a vehicle to release fear and anxiety that we have in our life. And always it's fear and anxiety that keep us from living our passion in life.
That's true.
Yeah. When we define the word passion, most people think it's something that you do with just one other person. But passion is a lot more than that. Other people think of passion as something that you avoid because either our teachers or our parents or our bosses and sometimes even our friends tell us that it's foolish to pursue whatever it is in our dreams. It's foolish to want to build rockets. It's foolish to want to solve a new law of the universe. It's foolish to be an artist, right? When in fact, that very thing might be what wakes us up in the morning. That very thing would be the thing that makes us feel alive more than anything else. That very thing is what we would be most excited to be surrounded by others in doing and in developing our own craft. And in Kaivala Yoga, that's what we're about. That's what we're passionate about, is helping people have the physical strength, the mental strength, and then the emotional strength that it takes to be able to pursue one's passion in life. And thank you again. It's amazing that you're here.
Yeah, thank you, Stuart. For me, it's a privilege to be part of this initiative. I think it's great for the sake of the yoga community and in general to bring other people interested in this wonderful practice of the yoga. And at the same time, doing this kind of reflection and bringing alternative thoughts to what we live every day.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a great idea about the topic you're addressing today.
And a lot of people get confused when we start talking in yoga. Very often they think, when most people think about yoga, they think about yoga pants, or they think about yoga mats, or they think about yoga butts. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's that there's something more profound. And then when you talk with teachers about yoga, then they talk about a connection that we need to have to the world around us, a connection between us and our bodies, us and our lives. And there's a third definition of yoga, and it comes from the English word yoke. Do you know what a yoke is?
Somehow.
Okay, yeah.
The one in the cards? No?
It's a yoke is a device that you use to use the power of oxen.
Oh.
It's a big wooden beam.
Okay.
I can draw you a picture. It looks like this.
Got it. Okay.
Now one ox will go here and the other ox will go there. And when you set this up, you have to be really careful because you'll always have one ox that's stronger than the other ox. And so when you yoke two oxen, balance is the most important part. It isn't so much about you being connected to the ox. It is. It's really important. Don't get me wrong. Actually making that connection, it helps you cultivate your field. But if you want to cultivate your field successfully, you have to make sure you always find balance.
Makes sense.
What we're addressing in Kaivala is how people can find balance, how they can yoke, how they can find yoga in every single aspect of their lives, not just with their bodies on one foot, not just with their hearts as they reach up to the sky, but with their dad, their mom, brother, sister, lover, enemies.
Yeah, and what you're implying is that yoga is not necessarily the exercising part of the practice, but transcends.
Yeah, transcendence.
Transcends
Yeah.
towards the spiritual level, or the mental or psychic level, whatever you would like to name it.
Any level, any level, any level, any. And yeah, so with passion, that's what we're learning how to yoke with today. What is it? What is this burning desire? What is the strongest ox that we have in our lives? When people talk about passion, the word passion and suffering are the same word. And when you ask someone, what is your passion? It is, you're asking them essentially, what are you willing to walk through fire to get to? And
knowing that at the end, that will bring some joy.
Oh, yeah.
Or fulfilling something in your inner spirit that it's so great that the suffering remains in the past.
Yeah, that you don't even feel it. You could lose the skin off of your arm in a burning building, but as long as you had your passion there, it wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Wouldn't make a difference at all. And everything, rock climbing, writing books, playing baseball, wrestling, making video programs. And as I think you were mentioning, being an artist.
Doing art, well, I'm just a novice for the moment, exploring my creative spirit to start doing some art. But that's something that I have discovered, that it's bringing me some passion.
Yeah. Cool. Let's think. How do you want to go? Do you want to try using some sticky notes to see what's going on with this?
Yeah.
Okay. So
you guide me.
Okay. The way that we begin is you write down things that you're excited about. And it could be a component of work life, it could be a component of family life, or it could just be a component of hobby life or a special interest life.
Yeah. Okay, so this is one of my hobbies that I'm exploring. Well, I have done photography for a long time. It's just now I'm trying to connect it with my art, my artwork. Family is very centered to me. So I would say my grandkids. And their educational process.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing.
And then I would say that wellness, health, for me is very critical.
Yeah.
So yoga and exercise are very important, and I get a lot of joy doing it. You know, I love to cook. That's one of my passions.
Now, are you what kind of cooking do you do?
Well, I like to explore like nouvelle cuisine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like novel cuisine?
Novel cuisine.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Trying to do different things and exploring to do
cool
new dishes and
So do you go all around the world, or do you stick with mainly one type of culture?
I like ethnic foods, so I try to explore Thai that I like a lot, and Spanish, Mediterranean food.
Okay. Cool.
So I would say cooking as one of my passions, and I spend a lot of time cooking. Sometimes I say, oh my gosh, but it's just that I enjoy it.
Is it just the cooking side, or do you like to feed others?
I like to feed others, yeah.
Maybe put that underneath as well, because that adds a little bit different of a...
Yeah.
Because sometimes people just like to cook and they don't want anybody to eat their food. They just want to eat.
And that's what motivates me.
Yeah.
Cooking for someone else, for my husband, for my grandkids, my daughter, friends.
Yeah. You like oh my gosh, how did you do that?
Well, for certain times, not often, but once in a while I declare, like, this is the day, to invite friends and do something special.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And is this, let's see, we've got grandkids and educational process.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody else in your family that's important to you, or?
Well,
it could be not on, and it's not, I get it as well. You probably love and you're kind with everyone in your family. It's just this is what your main focus is.
Yes, it's like the priority, because the rest, are on their path, doing all right.
Mm-hmm.
But the grandkids, it's like they need much more attention and support.
Yep.
And also I learned from them so much.
Yeah.
They give me lessons.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what anthropologists say, that when humans started living long enough to be able to have grandparents, that's when the acceleration of technology started to happen in humanity. That's where you see a lot of art happen. That's where you see a lot of music. That's where you see a lot of storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were just a single generation family, it didn't work out because the grandparents weren't there to share the stories and to pass on.
Yeah.
Because the parents would be too busy to, well, as they are today, the parents are always too busy doing the work.
Yeah.
And not enough time for the kids. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that's awesome that you're playing your role and choosing to run with it. Thank you so
yes.
much.
Yes, I feel very proud about being an abuela, which is the way we call it in Spanish, grandmother.
Yeah.
They call me abuela.
Uh-huh. Okay, so we have photography. Yeah, keep going.
Okay. Well, I read a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And before the program, you were telling me about how to read faster, because I would like to have a scanner in my mind
Yeah.
to read all the books that I have in my
There
agenda.
won't be microchips available for another 5 years, 10 years, but they're going to be awesome.
Yes,
There's nothing to be afraid of.
Exactly. So reading, reading, it's one of my passions too.
Mm-hmm. And with reading, are you talking about reading as a skill, or are you talking about just reading as taking time in your day to read?
Reading as an agenda that I have of topics and issues that I would like to address.
Cool.
So I read nonfiction and fiction, but I really like to read and stay abreast of what's happening in the world today.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is it.
Yeah, I would say that's
Good.
enough.
Now what we can do here, I find that whenever I get stuck, if I just create a little bit more space in between everything, then it'll feel natural to fill in the holes.
Okay.
Okay. So with your grandkids and their educational process, are there different types of components of that? Are there, it's like places that you could have places that you want to visit, or things you want to share with them?
Yes.
Or scheduling your time with them? What in this needs to happen in order for you to live your passion?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. I participated in their homeschooling experience until a few months ago, or last year. They are now going to school. So before that, their parents and my husband and I collaborated in their activities for homeschooling. So that required much more planning from our part. But now it's much more spontaneous whenever they come and visit us. They come weekly, on a weekly basis. So I try all the time to have something different so that they can approach based on their interest, obviously. Find resources on the internet or books or art that they can do. The idea is to take the opportunities so that they can have a learning experience or interact in a way that I can also learn from them so that they can feel that they are teaching. And actually they feel very important when they do that. And I don't have to make believe that they are teachers, that they are teachers to me. Frankly, sometimes they are awesome. Yeah. So I would say, probably thinking about the activities. And
maybe you could write letting them be teachers.
Oh,
that's something that's really important for you. That's something that you're really passionate about, is letting the kids go out into the forefront and letting them be teachers.
Yeah. And that's interesting because that's learning in new kind of interaction with the kids.
I'm just filming it so that the people at home can see.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're trying to learn a new interaction with the kids?
Yes. A new way of realizing how much the kids can teach the adults.
Yeah.
So it's a new way of relating.
Yeah.
And learning how to take your hat off from the authoritarian, traditional kind of role that grandparents can play, although they can be very loving at a time.
Yeah.
But be open and discover all these messages that come from the kids, because they are in this beautiful realm of discovery. And then if we're open to participating in that, I almost feel like a kid sometimes with them. So that for me, it's also like a gift and a joy, because it's discovering another way of being happy and enjoying life.
Gosh, that's amazing. And there's a gentleman who is the expert in de-escalation. De-escalation makes sense, right? That's when if you got somebody that is really worked up and they have really important information that the government needs, and they're super afraid, they're sweating, they've been abused, they've been with the wrong people at the wrong time, but we need some kind of information that they have. This guy is the go-to guy to get that information. And he wrote, and people talk with him and they say, the moment I talk with this guy, I feel completely at ease and I'm ready to share my entire life story with him. And,
wow.
And and no matter who they are, they could be one of those people that are really frustrated and super high anxiety and really afraid of life. He wrote a New York Times bestseller. Okay, and maybe I should also say that he's the guy that at Guantanamo Bay in Abu Ghraib, when the prisoners were getting abused, he was the person that they called to de-escalate those prisoners.
Interesting.
Would you like to know the title of his book?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Well, you don't have to write it down. We can do
Okay.
it either way. You could write it down. The people at home.
Yeah. Whatever.
What the name of the book is, it's Just Listen.
Just Listen.
Yeah. And the subtitle of the book is The Secret of Getting Through to Anyone.
How pretty.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? And this is like letting them be teachers.
Yeah.
Because all too often we feel with the authoritarian side, you get into a pattern of telling everyone what to do. But the fact of the matter is, the people who need to be the servants the most are the leaders.
Exactly.
And gosh, it's awesome. I don't like you exemplify it. I don't have to, thank you. as I would guess that I'm in the teacher role, you step into it. And
well, I was a teacher for a long time.
Yeah.
And for me, this is like, changing the paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
Although I started to do things in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
In the late 90s and at the beginning of this century with all the educational revolution about changing the way to educate. Having this experience is somewhat different because it's like acknowledging the power of knowledge that little creatures have.
Oh, yeah.
Kids.
Yeah.
And they are so enlightened in a way that it's just realizing how much we can learn from just observing how do they do things, how do they play, and actually probably because they deal with technology, but they engage in more imagination games.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend a lot of time in their world of fantasy, and that's another way of relating to reality that I hadn't approached in a long time. So that's why I enjoy so much.
Yeah, tell me about reading as well. You said that there's I think I remember the categories. You said fiction, nonfiction, but there's like a steady stream of ideas that you're trying to get into. Is there a couple of categories that you wouldn't mind writing down?
Yeah, well, all the topics about, climate change and politics, in general, I'm interested very, very much. Politics and change, topic of politics and change.
Cool.
And wellness, all that is related to how to be much more healthy and sometimes I spend time reading nonfiction, some novels that are also related to the way that people discover their path of life, and fictional related to history, historical important backgrounds or settings. So it's a way.
So let's do that. Novels. You said novels that showcase people overcoming obstacles.
Yeah.
Yep. That's cool. And then you said history too, but history and politics and change are kind of the same.
Yeah.
What we can do, well, let's do this here. And write politics and change and history all together.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be a fairly good. Because these might end up mixing together a little bit, and we just got to make sure that we can do as much mixing as we possibly can. Okay, and then wellness. Yeah, health and wellness will be that last one. Cool. And then I'm only anticipating. Let's see. Health and wellness. Your reading doesn't have so much of this in it yet. So maybe like art technique, or is it art history, or is it politics, change, and history that inspires your art? Because sometimes art just comes out of what it is that we read, It isn't so much that you got to read about Picasso.
Well, I would say also I would add here science, because my grandkids are very involved with science, especially my grandson. He's very attracted to astronomy, and I am a fan of astronomy too. So science, especially astronomy, inspires me a lot with art. And science and photography, taking nature and the natural processes for photography.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the connections that I do sometimes.
Wow.
And the things that I would like, I like to read.
Wow. I'm almost totally flabbergasted. This is so cool. I would have never ever guessed that I would have an artist fascinated with astronomy on this show. This is, thank you. Then are you, as an educator as well, are you following anything that's happening in the educational circles right now? Like, I think there's Parker Palmer. He's a fairly big name. Or, yeah, like, you know who I'm talking about. There are ideas of civic learning or service learning or child-centered learning or
lifelong learning.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you stay abreast with all of.
Yeah, not so, formally, but kind of.
Got it.
Getting, the understanding of how education is changing through technology, but also through methodology.
Cool.
And for different levels, from kids to elder people.
Yeah.
Who are learning also to stay abreast of technology and new ways of in their core part of their life, making sense of what is happening also around them.
Wow. And I think it's wonderful that the leading technology is just to listen to the kids. That's like the most baffling thing that could ever happen.
Yeah.
Photography and art. Do you have any sticky notes that you want to
yes, I have the challenge of how to deal with thousands of pictures that I have.
Yeah.
Archiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also creating art with the best pictures that I have already. So I have to figure out how to spend a little bit more organized time with them, classifying and selecting those that I can do a particular good work of printing it in a new medium like aluminum or glass or these new ways of printing out images that I like to explore.
Yeah.
And then trying to see which of those photographs I can use for inspiring and doing some art. I am not oriented towards realistic art, but much more abstract. So in a way, I can use those photographs to change the meaning or find out something about that photograph that I can express in another way, in a much more creative way. That is not so realistic. So that's the kind of exploration I want to do.
Yeah. Maybe let's take just a little step back, because with different things that we do in life, they usually boil down to 3 questions when we do them. It's what, how, and why. And the first most important question of those 3 things are why. Okay. And with photography and art, most of the time that people run into any type of place where they don't feel creative at all, the reason why they don't feel creative at all is because they don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. Because if you understand if you understand why you're doing what you're doing, then the motivation's there. And that's why the question why fits exactly into what our passion is. Because your boss may have you flipping papers around at the office, and if he's just having you flip papers around and he says, I want you to put this one here, this one there, this one there, this one there, that one there, and that's all that you get from the business. It's all that you know is that you're collating papers. It's going to be really hard to show up to work every day to do that. But if your boss comes to you and says, I got this vision. What I want to do is help people understand how to listen to their kids so that they can make them grow in a more magnificent way with their intellects and their hearts and in their lives, you would be on board immediately. There wouldn't be any question at all. You'd be happy to collate paper all day long if you knew that that was going to be making that move forward. So with your photography and your art, it would probably be a really good question to ask, like, why do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Because then we can get to the what you need to do, and then we can get to the how you're going to do it, and that's not so bad at all.
You're right. And in a way, I want to do it to share some of those things, to not only to feel good about having done them, but to instill in the other people that can look at that a way of feeling good about, you know, the experience of looking at a particular photograph or art piece. The way that art works, you know, that you just look at something and you can feel, oh, that great feeling of that aesthetics brings you, of watching something beautiful, or something that relaxes you, or something that connects you with something else in your life. Yeah. But, and also as a way of a legacy, I think that I would like to leave something for my grandkids or their kids, you know, when I am much older. And I figure out I have to prepare for that. So it takes time, you know, to do it.
Okay. So there's legacy. You do it because of the legacy.
Yeah.
You do it because of maybe on another sticky. You do it for a legacy, and you do it for it sounds like bringing someone into the moment of their own life. Like, so there's the beauty that you were talking about before of the moment that you as the artist are experiencing. That's probably the other one. It's the beauty of the moment that you are experiencing as an artist, right? So that's probably another, I think, is that right?
Yes, like sharing sharing the beauty
of the moment.
Of the moment. Yeah. Yeah, I have been reading this book about, I can't remember the first name. It's a Mexican, Mexican-American. Last name Gonzalez. I can't remember the first name. I was given that book as a Christmas present. And its title is very interesting. It says, in times of war, wage beauty.
In times of war, which beauty?
Wage, is that the word?
Which?
Wage. W-A.
Oh,
W-A.
in times of war, wage beauty.
Exactly.
Yes.
In times of wars, wage beauty. And the central message is, you know, we're in such a critical time for the humanity. And in a way, another means of realizing the importance of our existence is creating beauty in the midst of this disaster that is occurring in the world and in the earth, on Earth.
Yeah.
So I relate that to art too. I think art in this moment is, especially art that brings some kind of consciousness, and that can help out people figure out how we can construct another way for humanity.
Yep. And the last notepad, the last sticky would probably be help people expand consciousness.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I like that, Stuart. The question about why. Yeah.
That's the thing that makes, there's a fantastic anthropologist from Columbia University named Simon Sinek, And he's one of the more bold public speakers that are out there right now. He says companies will hire him and pay him lots of money to show up at their place to do talks. He talks at Google, he talks at Intel, he talks at political organizations, he even talked to the Marines. He's I think he is the only civilian that has gone through the Marine basic training without being a soldier. They let him go through to give them some feedback on what was going on with their military program. The name of one of his books is Find Your Why. And he talks about the difference between great companies and okay companies. And companies that in their marketing, in their labs, on their creative floor, if they have the why, if they have their why, then they can easily sell products. Because people understand what it is and why it is, what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Yeah.
And it sells like hotcakes, as opposed to companies that use what. So if I'm going to buy a computer, right, a lot of companies try to sell me on how much memory the computer has or how fast the computer has or what kind of screen it has. And it works. It works to do that just fine. But the most popular company is Apple.
Exactly. Yeah.
They may not have the best product that's out there, but they got the marketing down. When Apple first started marketing their computers, their computers were half as good as everybody else. The monitor was half as good, the memory was half as good, the keyboard was half as good, but the marketing was down, and they had their marketing spot on because they answered the why. And what they would do is show pictures of great thinkers like Albert Einstein or Amelia Earhart.
Yeah.
And then on the corner of the poster, they just had that little logo that said, "Think different."
That's true.
And that touches our heart. Whereas a company such as Dell, who just has products, it's just a product.
Yeah.
It's not something that's a revolution. It's not a cultural revolution. So most artists won't really it won't draw them in.
Yeah.
But when we nail this, when creating your art, you sharing the beauty of the moment that you're in that moment, helping to expand other people's consciousness, that immediately, I mean, how many people are out there that want to experience that?
Yeah. And interestingly, the question of why brings you to a deeper perspective about things.
The grandkids are right.
Yeah.
That when they turn 3, we're like, oh, if I hear that question,
exactly. I think that's why kids ask so many questions. They want to go into deep learning. And sometimes journalism, that's precisely the question that they evade.
Yep.
They never ask why.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
And
they
it's
ask
pretty sad.
Well, like, you got a guy who just broke the world record for it could be the 200 meter, right? They could run the 200 meter, broke the world record, Olympic gold, and he's 5,000 miles away from home. They interview him 30 seconds after the race, and they say, "How do you feel right now?"
Obviously.
He's out of breath. He feels great. Of course he feels great.
Yeah.
And when we really need to be interviewing people is after they've relaxed a little bit, after they've done some meditation, after they've observed their world without judgment and seen what is, and then we can ask them, why did you do what you did? And where do you plan on going next? And they'll be at a place where they're comfortable to answer those questions. Because that why question, as you said, wasn't nailed with so many people, when the journalist and all of the crowd interviews these athletes that are doing magnificent work out there, magnificent sacrifices for us, fulfilling their passion. Unfortunately, usually, someone wins a first prize or breaks a record, they lose themselves. They move into a place of fear because they feel I've already done it, I've already become the greatest, and I have no more thing to do, because it was always what, it wasn't why.
Exactly.
It was always what, it was always what, not why, or how.
Or how, yeah.
I've been trained at 5 o'clock every morning. I did it. It's great, but why was I doing that? The next is, you said yoga and exercise.
Yes.
Will you tell me about your practice and what you do? And
Yeah, well, I have been doing yoga for 15 years now, and that has changed my life in a lot of ways, especially to deal with my hectic way of living in the past, in another life. So breathing and connecting to my inner strength and the discipline of practice and the psychic, mental, spiritual dimension of yoga has brought a lot of wellness to my life and my relationships. So I value it a lot. And exercise as well. I do other typical exercises to the gym, go to the gym. So staying healthy, it's very important for me. I feel that not only for me, but for my family, in a way of sharing the value of being healthy in the community and instilling, modeling what it's being healthy. So I have enjoyed yoga. I think it has given me the opportunity to grow, in all sense,
Cool.
Yeah, I love it. I love to practice yoga.
Let's do some of this.
And I need probably to expand my practice, more days in a week, or although I try to do it, just learning the breathing, the value of breathing that I have learned through yoga, I can apply it no matter where I am. So depending on if I need to breathe because I know the value that the benefit that it will bring me psychologically, or just to face a difficult situation or to deal better with a particular conflict, breathing and thinking about balance and even a quiet pose, I feel it's so beneficial. And probably I don't have to go to the school to the yoga session or yoga class, because I have learned through the practice how to cultivate it in the moment that I need it.
Cool.
I still think I have to grow more in that direction, but I'm so grateful to the good teachers that I have had. And I'm looking forward to have a class with you too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's the I think a lot of people, a lot of yogis, they get caught up in that too. Their personal practice becomes, and I know that, I have with my practice as well, it gets to a place where you just find a rhythm. You wake up in the morning, you do the postures, you got a balance pose here, a balance pose there, lunges, shavasana, meditation, breathing, whatever it may be. And it works. You know that as soon as you do it, you're going to be dialed for the rest of the day. The day will become hyper real. And being able to listen in between the words and understand what that more profound meaning of what a person is sharing with you is, you're good. But there's another part of yoga that's really important, and I think that's the yoga of community. The Buddhists call it Sangha. And what we talk about with the yoga of community is, the story that I like to use is, if you have a petri dish of mammary gland cells, what it will do, what all of the mammary gland cells do when they're healthy, and we can do this really easy in a lab, is they produce milk, right? Now, if you take a cancer cell and you put it at the center of the petri dish, what happens? I'll give you 3 guesses. Okay. Do you want to give it a whirl?
Yeah.
Okay, go.
They replicate
And spread. And
and
take
spread?
Over. Yeah. That's
And
the
take over?
Beautiful first guess. Second guess?
Oh. Well, I think it's part of, I'm thinking about they be growing, but it's the same thing about expanding and replicating. Not quite sure. I thought that it was the only thing they do.
Most people say either they expand and grow, or the mammary gland cells will take over and eat it, or kill it, whatever it may be. But a third, more amazing, more awesome thing happens.
What is it?
It's the cancer cell starts to produce milk.
Oh.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the implication? What's happened then?
Who we surround ourselves with and the people that we have in our lives determines our own behavior. If we surround ourselves with people that produce abundance and people that cultivate consciousness and people that want to create beauty, that inspire other people to be in the moment, you're going to do it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's a guaranteed recipe, almost.
Yeah. But it sounds to me like the law of attraction.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's, I heard you have with yoga and exercise, there's a practice of your life. There's a practice with yourself.
Yeah.
And there's a practice with a yoga community that you want to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, in some way I miss that because I think that being part of a yoga community consciously and connecting much more than going to a class together, being aware that you're a group, having a practice which is an alternative way of living, it brings another kind of strength for yourself and for the community as well.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think that I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Not only the individual benefit, because even though when you're with a group, still it could be very individualistic, depending on, you know, what happens after that class or after that practice.
Yeah, and the group, the people of Kaivala, what we're really curious about is helping other people with their passion. That's it.
Yeah.
We just want to listen. And I think with that premise, with that basis, that's really easy. Once we have that why, because we know what our why is, and the passion is your why, it just makes really awesome people. And I think that the world, do you know what's missing in the world?
Oh, so many things if you ask that question.
Yeah, well, you got like, let's see, water, right? 2/3 of the planet is covered with water, is it not?
Yeah.
And water is evaporating all of the time. So
Exactly.
we can eventually find a way to get water, fresh water to people. The technology's there. There's no problem.
Yeah.
Energy as well. There's plenty of energy in the world. If you were to bring all of the oil to the surface of the earth, how much oil would you have? Do you know?
Much more than we need.
Oh, yeah. It's at the actual statistic, and this is of a book written in the 80s called The Deep Hot Biosphere by Thomas Gold. And so he did the statistics on it, and you would have enough oil to create a single ocean that would cover the whole planet of oil. And the ocean would be 21 miles deep. That's how much potential oil is underneath the surface of the planet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Award-winning physicist. I am not talking about, like he's spoke at every university in the country.
But again, the question would be,
how much
for
do
what?
Yeah.
For what?
And then right now, solar energy is becoming less expensive than coal. And coal is less expensive than oil. So we're probably going to be okay.
Yeah.
Probably going to be okay with energy. And then food, there's at least 1,000 times more calories produced on the planet than humans can consume. It's just right now it's a distribution problem.
Exactly.
So what's missing? What's missing on the planet?
I would say understanding, compassion.
You got it. You got it.
Social justice, love.
Yo.
Yeah.
Yo. I say simply love, kindness, and respect.
Yeah.
It's really that
love,
easy.
kindness, and respect. Yeah.
Yeah. It isn't that we have problem with the people that are drilling the oil at all. They have work, they have families, they have jobs that they're just trying to do. They're just trying to make money like the rest of us. The problem is that there might be other ways of doing this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when we build the industry to make that happen, everybody will be happy. And same goes with food. We don't have a problem with crazy chemicals in our foods, but if there's a better way to be doing it, let's talk about it. Listen to each other and find a way to make that happen and come to the table as friends rather than enemies.
And I would add, in that same line,
Yeah.
much more tolerance.
Yeah. Yeah. For both sides.
For both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the sides. Yeah. And that relates also to mutual understanding.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. Let the kids be teachers.
Yeah.
All right. Then, so it looks like you got a pretty clear understanding of everything, right?
Yeah.
And then we got cooking and feeding others. This is a really beautiful topic too. I'm just really fascinated. So tell me about it.
Well, I would say I've cooked most of my life. I had a wonderful mother who loved to cook, and a great mother-in-law who also loved to cook.
Yeah.
And in my family, most of all cook. My kids, my daughter, my son, my husband, my son-in-law, we all love to cook. So it's interesting. But obviously I spend a lot of time cooking because I also, look forward to gathering the people together and enjoying the moments of having food for feeding the body but also feeding the spirit. Because it's the moment to talk and to share and to be happy about having good food.
Gosh.
So, and also cooking good food. What I mean, it's basically healthy, organic. I know it's very expensive, but in a way, finding the best organic food that we can replenish and do it easily and not so expensively. So I've really enjoyed that. And but sometimes I feel like the pressure of, I need to cook today because I have to do something new. So I have to be much more flexible at the same time of that I don't have to be
Rigid.
all the time, looking for the moment that I have to have a setup for cooking. But I like to explore new things. Yeah, I have to and look do new recipes. And well, in the past 2 years, we've become gluten-free at the same time. So it's something that I have to learn more to balance
everything. Yeah. Okay, I think I got three things for you then. You cook because it's the legacy again. You said that your parents and your grandparents have cooked, and keeping that legacy is something that you would like to do.
Yeah.
Then the other part And you could write this on another sticky if you want. The other part was you cook for community.
Mm-hmm.
You cook to bring people together, and you cook to elicit an emotion as well.
Yeah, that's true.
There's let's see.
Yeah, emotions of connectedness. So I would say that that's related to connectedness. Yeah.
Okay, this might help out that idea a little bit. There's 3 C's for creativity. And creativity and fearlessness are they're right there. That as soon as we start getting over our fears, our creativity skyrockets. There's no avoiding it. It's just the way it works. As soon as we become more fearless, then our creativity skyrockets. The first C of creativity is courage. Explaining exactly that, right?
Yeah. Which is the other one?
It's community. And the last one, it's almost there. For right now, I guess the viewers at home will have to look at the next program because I know that the last one is boredom. And it's not a C. I know there's a different way of using the letter C and to describe boredom with the letter C. But it is boredom. You got to be bored.
I know what you mean, yeah. More in the good sense, right?
Well, it's always in boredom is always in the good sense, but we have been trained by the slave drivers and the money makers to think otherwise.
Yeah.
And not to say that I understand businessmen and I understand their mentality.
Yeah.
And now they are moving as well to encourage boredom. At Google, they have hours of the day where they say, we don't want you to be doing anything other than what you're excited about doing.
Yeah.
Like you can do whatever you want. You're here, free to use our facility in any way that you want. And that's where most of their leading ideas in the past 10 to 20 years have come from, is that opportunity of letting them go play with something. Who cares what you do? And then with our kids, when our kids come to us and they say, we're bored, the response that parents can say to the kids is awesome. That's wonderful. Because then they'll figure it out. Then they'll figure out something to do. Then they'll find a game to play. Then they'll find something to explore. Because the children have the freshest minds, and they have the most amount of creativity.
Oh, yeah.
And if you give them that boredom, it's only going to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, that is it sounds like I hear the voice of my partner, my husband, my partner of my life. He has a way to relate to time different from me, much more in the sense of giving that openness not to do things in the way I do, rushed, and I have to be doing something every time. So I have to learn that, to appease myself and recognize that sometimes you can just do nothing, and I don't have to feel bad about it.
Exactly. And usually what happens when nothing for many people, boredom for many people, consciousness.
Oh.
That's the third C.
Yeah.
I think the way that the triple works, though, for this is when we talk with people about it, if we lead with courage, everybody's going to go, yeah, totally, totally, I knew that. Of course it's that. And then you say consciousness. And then community will be the last one, because then it's that heart lovey-dovey feeling.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at all. Yeah. Yeah, boredom and consciousness are totally tied in. Usually with creativity, usually with people, they think that boredom, they feel that boredom is something to be avoided. And the reason why they feel that it's something to be avoided is that pressure that we put on ourselves to get things done.
Yeah.
And we don't live in that world anymore. There's lots of food at the grocery store. We have dishwashers, so we don't have to spend a half an hour doing the dishes anymore. Like the floors really don't have to be swept every day. They don't.
Yeah.
When we're practicing yoga, it might be nice to sweep the floor for your friends and family before they practice yoga on the floor every day. But it's not, no one's going to die over that. And yeah, people love to cook. People love to cook, so why would we force others to cook? People love to read, so why would we force others to read? People love to take pictures and create art, so why would we possibly want to force anyone to do that? People love to drive, people love to shoot cameras, people love to do all of this stuff.
To travel,
So why are we forcing them into a place where they feel guilty for being bored? Or to avoid that emotion, when that emotion is the thing that gives you the clarity of your world to be more creative with it. Really good stuff.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. So, when you're cooking, you could even, I'm sure that those three things would totally fit right in there. To give people the opportunity to be bored when they're eating. The French say something like cleaning your palate, or in like a 5-star dinner or a 18-course meal, whatever it may be, you need to clean your palate in between. But really what you're doing is you're creating boredom with your mouth so that you can experience the next flavor. Gosh, really cool. So, this is only about finding your passion, and all we're trying to do in this episode is lay it out on the table. Now, where to go from here in your life throughout the course of this next week, or 2 or 3, or however long this part of the lesson lasts you, what I would recommend doing in bringing your passion more into life is to do it between 10 and 1%. Okay? Many people think that if they are on an exercise plan, a health plan, they need to do something different with their career, right? So they jump off of the ship and then they're left in the ocean with something completely new. Excuse me. The episode that we had before was on the lizard brain and observation without judgment. The lizard brain hates change. If you want to elicit a fear response in your heart and in your head, just change everything in your life, and that fear response will go right through the roof, and you will not be able to see straight, and it'll be really, really hard to observe your world without judgment, because everything's new, and there's your response, and the natural response is to judge. So what I tell people is to make changes in life about 10 if you're trying to do really big change. And that's really, really, really big change. 10%. 10% per day is like, you're going to be a completely different person in 10 days. That's the really short time period. So like 10% for 10 days, that might be a little bit fast for everyone, okay? And that seems like a really small number, doesn't it?
Yeah,
like you think 10%, but it really is. It's an entirely new human being in 10 days. So 10% is when you're taking really bold steps, and I would only recommend that every now and then. as opposed to 1%. 1% is a pretty good every day. If you experiment with one little knob about 1% every day, where you bring in yoga and exercise just one little extra time in the day. You bring in your photography and art 1% more. Or you read, you sit down for 5 minutes, or just like 2 minutes and open up the book and read a half a page.
Yeah.
Like how much, and you could probably feel, if you're opening up your mind to somebody that you're really excited about for 5 minutes or 2 minutes, it's still an entirely different experience for your day.
Yeah.
It's not nothing. As boring as it may seem, as meaningless as it may seem, it's actually quite profound. And then listening to the grandkids, just 1% more per day. Like, I mean, what kind of...
Exactly, yeah.
Just a little bit will do it. And we don't have to completely change the laws of the multiverse today. It can be done little by little. And I find when it's done little by little, it's much easier to have control with my heart, with my emotions, with the way that I look at people and treat people, and help them become something greater.
Yeah. And just being aware of all the passions that we can have makes a difference too. To call them passion.
Yeah.
That's, you know, what I had of this moment of sharing it with you. Realizing that I have many passions and I have to be grateful that I have them and that I can call them as well. And I can feel passionate about those. And well, probably I would have to structure a little bit more this and that just to make it happen much more often. But just realizing that I have them, it's so wonderful. So thank you so much. You know, it's been a great exercise. Yeah, I think that many people can do this and they will realize how many things are so wonderful in their life, and probably they have not been aware of them. Yeah.
Yeah. It is. Once we start, so because many people haven't explored their life before. But once we start, most people, when they begin looking at their life, they see all the things that they do wrong. And the reason that we feel those anxieties, the reasons why we do that is it feels good. It does. It creates there's a chemical that goes through your body called dopamine, and it scientifically feels good to have anxiety and to worry and to guilt on ourselves.
Yeah, you get addicted to that feeling, probably.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, you were talking about that with your husband too. But just a little bit of time, by doing more of the observation without judgment, we move into that space where fearlessness can grow, and then we realize how awesome we have always been. And just like in The Wizard of Oz, when the Scarecrow gets his brain. Have you seen The Wizard of Oz?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the Scarecrow gets a brain, the Tin Man gets a heart, and then the Cowardly Lion gets the Medal of Honor or the Courage. And Dorothy goes back home, but the wizard says, "You had it all along. You've always been amazing."
Yeah.
As you have, thank you so much for joining us today. As the viewers at home are, thank you so much.
Yeah.
You are great and
Thank
wonderful.
you, Stuart.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was awesome.
Namaste.
Namaste. Good.
Beautiful.